What's up, Chatbot Builders and developers? So today I want to talk about a difference in nomenclature that I think might help us have better conversations in the market between the individuals that build chatbots and companies and businesses that want to hire them, right? Because if we use more efficient language, I think it will help us all across the board. So why is this conversation important? Because I'm finding a lot of businesses are asking the question, Connor, I want to build out an AI chatbot and I want to start integrating some of these AI solutions into some workflows in my business, but I don't know who to hire. I don't know exactly who I'm looking for. So I hope this conversation might help answer some of those questions. And then for us as, people building out these solutions, I think it helps us be more efficient when talking about our skills. So let's get into it. Let's define some terms. What is a chatbot builder? An individual who builds chatbots solely from frameworks established by other AI agent chatbot software platforms, i.e., your voice flows and Chatbot Builder and BotPress and live chats of the world. Okay. You are solely building inside of these frameworks your chatbot solutions. Hello, fellow chatbot builder. And on the other end of that spectrum are the chatbot developers, which is an individual who develops chatbots from scratch by writing custom code in a particular development language, i.e. Python, Node.js. Okay, where did I get the term builder? Connor, why are you calling yourself and potentially others in this space chatbot builders? Is it because of chatbotbuilder.ai? And the answer to that is no, although I must admit that was a pretty good idea from a marketing perspective, from their lens, if this term takes off and starts being used with more frequency, just from an SEO perspective. And also, unironically, chatbotbuilder.ai is most definitely geared towards chatbot builders, specifically in the no-code realm. But no, I am using the term chatbot builder because I am stealing it from an already established market, which is web development, which I think offers the best analogy for some of the choices that we make in this space, and might be a good glimpse if we try to put our crystal ball and try to tell the future of how these things might play out. It might, just might, play out in a similar fashion as web development. So this is WordPress. For those of you that are unaware, WordPress is an open source framework that allows you to build websites. And it currently powers about 40% of the internet. Most sites are built with WordPress. Now, a portion of the community, WordPress, interacts with the open source code, which is written in PHP. And these are web developers. They build full sites just coding in PHP. Okay? But something interesting happened X amount of years ago, is that these software platforms started popping up and allowed a drag and drop designer-like interface to building website pages. And this is, of course, things like Elementor. Now you have Bricks, you got the Gutenberg editor baked inside of WordPress right now. So these platform builders started popping up, and now they're collectively known as page builders, right? Because you are not dealing with code and PHP. You are now targeting and focusing a more non-technical clientele that allows you to build website pages. If we open up and look inside of a page builder, this is my website here. I can click section. Ooh, a new section pops up. And I can go into, oh, I want this 4 columns. Now I've got 4 columns here, okay? And I can just click and sort of drag and drop and move around things. And what this page builder is doing, it is taking the choices that I make inside of this designer-like atmosphere and converting it to code on the back end, which is then read by the web browser. So, as you can imagine, chatbot building platforms are working the same exact way. If I am in VoiceFlow, if I'm in chatbotbuilder.ai, if I'm in BotPress and I drag and drop elements onto this designer user experience for builders, it then converts these actions into code on the back end, which is then once again read by browsers. So, as you can imagine, these page builders started to gain popularity, and now you've got examples of them even outside of WordPress itself. Things like Wix and Squarespace and Webflow, and you've got the e-commerce specific Shopify, which are all builders that allow more users to come in and gain functionality. You don't have to be the super whammadine code genius in order to output quality solutions into the marketplace. Let's look at the definition of a page builder right out of Elementor's mouth here. A page builder is software that allows users to structure and design responsive website pages. The page builder tool enables one to build pages even on complex sites with minimal time, effort, and technical knowledge. Just as you'd play with Legos, you can select, rearrange, and style what you want on your site. Why use a page builder? With the right page builder solution, one can save thousands of dollars and several months on the process of hiring a web developer to create a coded static HTML, CSS site. We can take this definition and why use a page builder and literally just change the words to chatbot, and everything else checks out. A chatbot building software that allows users to structure and design responsive AI assistant chatbots. The chatbot building tool enables one to build chatbots even on complex sites with minimal time, effort, and technical knowledge. Just as you'd play with Legos, you can select, rearrange, and control the conversation with your chatbots that go live on your site. Why use a chatbot builder? With the right chatbot builder solution, one can save thousands of dollars and several months on the process of hiring a custom chatbot developer to create a coded solution. It's the same exact thing, right? Which is why, as chatbots have grown in popularity, with these LLMs having the ability to determine intent and route into dynamic things and automate a lot of conversations and do all of these functional things that we are looking for, these chatbot builders are popping up everywhere, right? Which is good. So individuals that stay in these chatbot builders should be called chatbot builders, not developers, because they are tapping in to these frameworks in order to gain functionality, to build quicker, right? Let's look at some job postings, okay? So if we're going to answer the question like, Connor, who should I hire? I'm not really sure. Should I hire a chatbot builder? Should I hire a developer? Let's look at some examples of some actual job posts, okay? And this is one that is obvious to me is a chatbot builder job post. Our client is a property management company overseeing a portfolio that includes a hotel, luxury villa, and multiple Airbnb properties. We are seeking a skilled developer to create a low-code/no-code chatbot tailored to enhance guest appearance and streamline communication across our managed properties. Core features required: text and voice handling using OpenAI, multilingual support, pre and post booking support, emergency issue escalation, local recommendations, chat history, and client takeover, aka client handoff, which is natively baked into a lot of these chatbot building platforms. So just looking at the core features required, even though they said skilled developer here, they also say low code, no code chatbot, which automatically you can make a strong assumption this individual here is looking for a chatbot builder. And I certainly see several things here that I would recommend a particular builder for, just based on these core features that they need, right? So, great example of a company looking for a chatbot builder. Okay, what's an example of somebody looking for a chatbot developer? I'm in need of a Node.js OpenAI chatbot implementation for my website. Much is done, but front-end streaming is not working. This chatbot's primary function is information retrieval, specifically focused on product details and informing blah, 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 blah. Chatbot is currently being added to a WordPress template file, needs to be easily portable to other similar environments. Key requirements: proficient in Node.js, Express, and familiar with OpenAI's Assistance API, especially front-end response streaming. PHP, WordPress, also helpful. Now, this individual already started building a chatbot, and it's got some of it at least functional, but it's missing some functionality. They need help getting it over the hump. Okay, based on this description, it's already written in Node.js. So a chatbot builder probably doesn't make any sense here, because there's a decent chance that a chatbot builder doesn't know how to write code in Node.js. They might, but they probably don't. So a chatbot developer is much better suited for this particular job. Now, here's where I think things get a little bit interesting in our discussions. Here's an example. Building a Gen AI application, which will help stock analysts do stock company researches faster. Need a Python developer. Create a RAG-based chatbot application, set up auto evals, ability to use OpenAI and Hugging Face models, add in guardrails, front-end doc citations for a chat app, prompt chains or dynamic prompts with the LLM as QA to generate a complete quarterly report, add in instrumentation and logging to collect, store session interaction data, cloud deployment, research knowledge graph. Now, on the surface, need a Python developer. So, chatbot builders out there, I'm just going to turn my brain off. This isn't for me, because they didn't say they needed a chatbot builder. They need a developer, Connor. This job is not for me. And look, there is a % chance that you are absolutely right. But there is also a % chance that this individual would be open to having a discussion about using a chatbot building platform instead of a custom Python solution, because a good chunk of these are already handled by the chatbot building platforms out of the box. And there's a good chance that their time would be better spent focusing on a couple of these other ones instead of building all of these out custom from scratch. The only way that you will be able to determine that is by sending them a message, being like, hey, my name is Connor. I'm a chatbot builder. Okay, I stick to these platforms and frameworks because of reason XYZ. I noticed a lot of the things that you're asking for can be handled with relative ease inside of these platforms. Would you be open to having a discussion about this in further? Or is there a particular reason that this has to be coded in Python? Those are the types of questions that you can have with potential clients that are looking for solutions. Because you also have to remember, there are a ton of job posts and applications and things out there right now that are just GPT generated. And the person, you can just tell, they said, I need a chat bot for my small business. Write me a project description. And it's just the same, must be proficient in natural language understanding and processing. Like it's just the same, like 4 sentences over and over again. And you can tell that the business on the other end, they don't exactly know or understand what they need to get the job done. So there's always an opportunity for discussions to be had on what is the best solution for this particular job. So do not just ignore things because it does not fit in your cookie cutter low code box of I am a chatbot builder, because you could potentially miss an opportunity to convince / change / educate your clients on your particular skill set and the things that you build and why it might be a good reason to consider it. Now, in the case of this guy that already has half of his project built, there is a 0% chance that I'm spending 1 second trying to talk to him about a chatbot building platform, right? He's already got work invested in this in a code language, right? The chances of me actually converting him or convincing him to come to my tech stack are very, very small. And there are always going to be valid reasons to stay out of the chatbot building platforms and build full custom. And we'll kind of go through that here in a second. But I just wanted you as builders to be aware there's a little bit of give and take here. There's discussions that have to be had, especially as we continue to educate businesses and clients about these potential AI chatbot solutions. So keep an open mind, because I think it will be helpful. It'll be helpful for both sides. So, all right, Connor, why would I hire a chatbot builder? Okay, I'm a business. I want a chatbot. Okay, if you're saying I have 2 options, I can go look for a developer who will just code, what I'm looking for, or I can go find one of you chatbot building people. Why? One of the main reasons is your access to a particular talent pool. As these chatbot building platforms continue to grow and more chatbots are built on them, and the community builds out custom functions, solutions, and third-party support applications, it grows and grows and grows. You have more and more individuals that are focused on the problem that you needed solved. Why is WordPress still 40% of the internet, even though it has been around for multiple decades now? And that is because so many professionals have inserted themselves into the WordPress ecosystem that you now have access to tens and hundreds of thousands of people that can potentially solve a problem. And as a business, it's very appealing, right? Because maybe it's not going to take me long to find a chatbot builder to help me build this project that I need. One of the other things that is probably a good idea is you also gain access to the product support channels themselves. You've got the discords of the various groups that are answering questions on a regular basis from the community and the support teams. And remember, these platforms have a vested interest in your success. They want you to succeed. They want you to build highly functional custom chatbots, because if you win, they win. Okay, they are attempting to grow as a platform and establish themselves in this landscape. It only makes sense for them to try to help you do that. Now, that does not mean that they are going to build the solution for you or answer every question that you have, but every little bit helps, right? So it's nice if your particular builder runs into a speed bump or is looking for a better way to solve a particular scenario that you are trying to tackle. Let me reach out and see what everybody's doing. Now, to be fair, chatbot developers, I'm sure, have their own communities and their own resources. But remember, things like Stack Overflow had a massive reduction in the amount of people using and commenting and posting on them because of things like ChatGPT and these LLMs that you can just kind of talk to. So having access to real people that are building similar things consistently is of value. I think number one on this list, I probably should have reordered this, is an ability for a chatbot builder to move quickly, right? I'm getting a lot of, Connor, I want an AI chatbot. I'm not sure where to start. Can you build me, how much does it cost for an MVP? Just a couple of these features. Like, build me this proof of concept and show me that it works. And then I'll invest additional time and resources, right? And that's much easier to stomach than this larger scope that a full custom bot would require most of the time, right? And instead of a full custom bot taking me 3 months, maybe this chatbot only takes me 21 days or 14 days or 8 days, depending on the complexity and my current workload and yada, yada, yada. The ability to move quickly in business is valuable. I also think these chatbot builders reduce the chance of a single point failure, right? If I was to custom code a full chatbot solution in my own brain, my own thoughts, and my own vision, if something happened to me, aka I get hit by a bus, which always seems to be a common question from potential clients, it would be more difficult to pick up the pieces of my brain when building a custom solution. Whereas if you are inside of a platform, remember, you have access to that talent pool and the product support channels and other people. It would be easier for you to pick up where somebody else left off and continue moving on or supporting. And look, maybe your relationship with your freelancer or your agency sours even after you've deployed an AI assistant chatbot. Your ability to move on is probably going to be dictated by, can I replace this agency? Can I replace this freelancer and not feel major ramifications throughout my business? And building on these platforms, I believe, reduces that hit. The other thing is, if you have a specific integration in mind or required from your chatbot that these building platforms already handle really well, because some of these integrations are complex and difficult and take a lot of time and nurturing and maintaining. And if a chatbot building platform already has it solved, it's a pretty big lift from your potential project. So it makes sense to tap into those and take advantage of all of this work that the technical people on these building teams have already done. Another reason you might want to hire a chatbot builder is for your non-technical team members to gain an understanding of what's going on, right? Because if I'm inside of this editor here or here or here, you can get an idea of what's going on in a general sense. Okay, here's where a text block is. Here's an image. Here's where the button comes in. Here's where the text from the button, here's where I can control that and change that. That is valuable for people throughout your organization, especially as you scale these solutions and they become more integrated and larger. The ability for your team to be able to add input is helpful, because if it's custom coded, it's just a block of text. And your non-technical team is just going to look at this and be like, I don't know what this is. I don't know. How does this work? Right? The ability to see this as a logic diagram of a chat conversation is helpful. And the other big thing on this list is it reduces your upfront cost most of the time, right? And that's because of the time. It feeds back into the ability to move quicker. This doesn't have to take multiple months. It might, depending on the solution, but it will be quicker than you custom coding this yourself, for sure. And both sides win off of this. Now, this doesn't mean that chatbot builders become a race to the bottom. And this also doesn't mean that chatbot builders are lesser quality from an output perspective. But the knowledge of this is helpful and useful. Okay, think about, chatbots have been around for, let's just call it, over a decade, right? Your Verizon, your Expedias of the world. They've had customer service chatbots for a very long time. How did they build them? They custom coded them. They spent millions and millions and millions of dollars on all of these teams, developer teams, to build out a custom solution. And that's great. And it was great for them because their cost reduction from a customer service side was so massive that it was worth investing millions of dollars. Okay. You don't need to invest that much money anymore because of these builders. Instead of millions, you can invest thousands, which means the ROI for implementing one of these chatbot solutions, it's much easier to stomach. It's a much clearer path for you to give the green light to build one of these things and integrate it into your organization, because you don't have to spend as much. So, obviously, I am biased on that half of the conversation because I am a chatbot builder. I spend all of my time inside of these platforms. Now, that being said, I am fully aware and acknowledge and appreciate that these chatbot building platforms are not the best solutions for every chatbot on the market. Developers will always be needed. Always. So why would we hire a chatbot developer instead of a chatbot builder? Number one, if you have a strict architecture requirement, if there's, some sort of encryption required or on-site data, or regulatory, some sort of rule that prevents you from tapping into these third-party software applications, then chances are you would be better suited to have a custom coded solution built for you with those things top of mind. Now, some of these platforms have, they are always trying to add more people into the mix and become a more appealing solution to those in the marketplace, despite these strict architecture requirements. So you will see some of these platforms offer things in their enterprise plans or, their highest tiers that might help ease some of these concerns. But that's something that you can kind of do a little bit of research on yourself. Number two, and I have put in capital letters here, very strict privacy and data concerns. Now, on the surface, all of us are concerned on data and privacy. Okay. And some of these chatbot building platforms do a really good job of saying, hey, we're GDPR compliant, ISO 2007, whatever the alphabet soup is of the day. And here's our monitoring. You can see it live, yada, yada, yada. But even though it might be a very, very small % chance that something negative happens from a privacy and data concern standpoint. There are some companies where even a small percent chance they will not stomach. It has to be zero. And maybe that is something in the financial industry or the health and care industry, like, who knows? But if that is you, then going with a custom solution probably makes more sense, right? Because you won't have this third party that has access to your transcripts or your data or whatever it is. I had a conversation with a company. They don't even trust OpenAI and Anthropic through their LLMs. Everything is, open source, hosted on our own servers. So if that is the case, maybe you should look to a chatbot developer. Although I will say, there is an open source chatbot building platform that you can tap into as well, but that's probably a discussion for another day. Number 3, you want to avoid vendor lock-in. If you build out your solution in one of these platforms, there's a good chance that you're going to hang around there and be there for a while, okay? And these companies, as we kind of go through the next few years, are going to, maybe they're going to change their monetization structure or increase their prices or fall the wayside or make bad choices or who knows, okay? If you want to avoid a potential vendor lock-in, then okay. The only way to go about that is to build something out custom yourself. The 4th is avoid the black box, which is, okay, these building platforms have proprietary code and technology that they have invested and developed, spent a lot of resources on. So at the end of the day, you're not exactly going to know how it works. So if you want to avoid that black box, and it is a requirement for you to be able to visibly see every line of code for your own solution, then write your own code, right? And the last one here, okay. Chatbot Builders, there's definitely an upfront cost savings, but as some of these solutions scale and start having massive amounts of conversations, remember, these platforms charge on usage most of the time. So if you want to cut out this middleman, this middle chatbot building server that I keep pinging for thousands and millions of interactions across the month, you can always host your own stuff on your own servers, potentially. And if that is a decision that you want to make from Jump Street, maybe hiring a chatbot developer for a custom coded solution makes a little bit more sense for you. And you want to engage and pay that extra money for a longer lead time, and you'll wait because you won't have to deal with that particular environment. So those are the reasons why I think you would hire a chatbot developer. And if none of these things are in your face showstoppers, it's really hard for me to imagine you going elsewhere and hiring a chatbot builder, just because the positives are plentiful over here. Now, there are a few things that I think we should keep in mind. Okay, we drew a line in the sand, chatbot developer, chatbot builder. This definition isn't really set in stone, right? The line's drawn in the sand for a reason. And that's because you can be both. There's nothing stopping a chatbot developer from tapping into an existing framework in a chatbot builder and using it for all of the reasons that I just listed previously, to gain functionality, to work faster, okay? And if you think about it, who are the best chatbot builders right now on the face of the planet and will continue to be for the rest of, this play out? It's developers, right? It's chatbot builders that know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, because they can extend the functionality of these AI assistants better than anybody else, right? All of the no-code builders that are leaning heavily on the platforms themselves as far as functionality, they're capped. They're skill capped. They have a ceiling. And as the builders get better, so will they. But if they do not learn, understand, and incorporate code, they're always going to be reliant on the builder for functionality. But developers can do a lot more. So the other thing that I think is important before we jump off here is chatbot developers do not always equal better quality. You say, okay, Connor, like I think chatbot builders are cheap. It's a cheap option. I'm going to go spend up and pony up on the developers. I don't think that that is necessarily a good argument, because I've had plenty of conversations with businesses that have hired developers that delivered a chatbot that frankly, it just sucked. It wasn't very good. So then they had kind of a double whammy, right? Because they paid more, it took longer, and then at the end of the day, it had less functionality than the chatbot builder did out of the box. And the individual in this particular case was kind of pulling their hair out a little bit because they saw all these YouTube videos of all this functionality inside of the builder, and they knew that their chatbot couldn't do that stuff, right? So just because somebody spends a bunch of time on something doesn't necessarily mean that's a good use of your money, right? Just like there are going to be a lot of bad chatbot builders, okay? As this video is going on, as you are listening to my voice, there are people out there that are being paid to build chatbots that have no idea what they're doing. And they're going to deliver poor quality results. And because the bar to entry is lower, there's a good chance that this is going to be a somewhat common occurrence for businesses over the next X amount of months and years. But that is also always the case for developers as well, okay? Just because somebody says that they know how to code a chatbot doesn't mean that they can. And it doesn't mean that they can deliver a solution that's as fully baked as something that these chatbot builders have put out, right? Because they spend all of their time, effort, energy, and money and live and breathe, how do I make the best chatbot builder possible? What is the next functionality that I need? What is the next integration? What is the next quality of life improvement? There's a lot that's positive that should be tapped into. But regardless of who you choose to work with, make sure that you're dealing with people of high quality. Because at the end of the day, you just need a chatbot. You need an AI chatbot to solve a problem for you. And both chatbot builders and chatbot developers, even though they take different paths, can get you to that solution. So, love to know what you all think, and best of luck building and developing out there. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks.